Concerned what it hit for, cause I've still come to raise hell like Mephisto. Please don't front, cause I'll karate chop your lymph node. Noodle arm punk, you punch and end up with your wrist.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about SmackDown in Madison Square Garden from September the 10th, 2011. Pat McAfee is back from his COVID vacation. Glad to see the boys in good health. All right, so before we get into this, I saw the commercial for NXT 2.0. 2.0. It should be NXT 3.0. Did they forget that the original NXT was a game show? And then the second NXT was actually the developmental training center. That's the second version of NXT. It should be NXT 3.0. And I'm actually very excited for NXT 3.0. I'm all in on that. Another thing I want to talk about before I really get into the show was Big E's Anti-Vape commercial. As this guy is standing in the ring, he's got this vape in his hand. And next you know, steel chairs are flying in the ring. And ladders are flying in the ring. And then steel steps fly in the ring. And then here comes Big E. And he gives him the old, that's metal in your lungs. And I was like, oh, what? We did all this just to try to stop kids from vaping? I thought somebody was debuting. I thought, something was happening. Like, is this a vignette for somebody? No, it's a fucking vape commercial. Look, if somebody want to have a Hell in a Cell match in their lungs, who gives a shit? All right. But I was so upset because I thought it was somebody coming. I thought it was a vignette, and it was just a commercial for fucking anti-vaping. That was so disappointing. That was disappointing as shit. Anyway, let's get into this show. So Roman Reigns goes in the middle of the ring, tells New York to acknowledge him because he runs New York and he runs WWE. And says WWE runs New York and he runs WWE. Acknowledge me. Crowd goes ape. Some people even start to chant for Roman. Most people boo him, which is good. Then Brock Lesnar come out there. Brock is massive. I mean, the guy is huge. He never stops being a big guy. The Usos get in Lesnar's way. So Lesnar then asks Paul. Paul asks Lesnar, why, of all the titles we could win together, why the Universal title? And Brock tells him, and he's smiling, by the way, because he thinks this is all cute, that the Usos think they can stop him. He says that, why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam? And everybody was like, whoa. Like, it's amazing what the reaction you can get without going shock jock like MJF or without doing high spots, right? Like, you can look at how you can get great crowd reactions just by putting the right words in the right place. Like, Brock insinuating that Paul lied and that Paul knew the whole time that he was going to be at SummerSlam got one of the bigger reactions all night because people knew what that meant. It meant something. Brock didn't have to cut a long 10-minute promo about the shit. He just asked the question, Paul, why didn't you tell Roman I was going to be at SummerSlam? And then he sat back and watched as everything unfolded. As Roman got upset, he took his belt back from Paul. Paul got all whiny. My tribal chief. This was great. Paul's, his facial expressions, like he gets really weaselly and mousy and whiny. It's awesome. It was great. And, so Roman leaves and the Usos leave because, Paul is a liar. They don't want to deal with Paul anymore. As Paul goes into his Brock Lesnar spiel, immediately he gives the Brock Lesnar. And Brock is like really amped. He's like, this is just like old times. And then he says, Paul, why won't you accept my challenge? And Paul just looks at him and it's incredulous. Like he wants to talk about this. So he gives Paul 5 seconds to accept this challenge. And he gets down to like 3, 2, 1. He grabs Paul. He lifts Paul up. And Paul's about to take a bump. And the Roman and the Usos came in to save Paul. Brock handles that problem easily enough. Suplex City to the Usos. Paul escapes. Roman escapes. Everybody's on ice. You know, this is all the Brock you got for this evening. They've mastered the art of giving you a little bit of Brock and then they stretch it. It's like Coke, you know. You you got a little bit of Coke, and then what you do is you stretch it, and that's basically what they're doing. They letting Brock show up, add elements to the story, and then leave. And now the story elements that he added has to be mixed into the story. So he probably won't be back for like another couple of weeks. All right, so he came in. Roman and the Usos ignore Kayla Braxton. She's trying to ask all these questions. Paul Heyman called her a Jersey girl. I don't even know what that meant, but it's like, is that a high-priced whore or something like that? Anyway, she says that he told her that Roman will answer the challenge when he feels it is appropriate to answer the challenge. Later, Paul Heyman is is spooked by Shotzi and Tegan Knox as they're riding around backstage in a tank. They're like idiots or children. I have no idea what's going on. Kayla Braxton appeared again. Paul called her a nagger and said that Roman will answer, and he's going to answer tonight when he gets ready. And then, of course, he ran into Big E, who was wielding the Money in the Bank briefcase and giggling like a maniac. Later, after the tag team championship match, Roman says that okay, if Brock really wants it, Brock can get it. Going to smash him, stack him just like everybody else. And then he came face to face with the Demon, Finn Balor, he's gonna be wrestling at Extreme Rules. All right, so we're in an interesting we have an interesting time here, because Brock is the next level. So you really are looking past the whole Finn Balor thing, and you don't really need the Demon for this. You know, you don't. Why are we beating the Demon? That's the question I want. You know, like we shouldn't beat the Demon. Save it. You know, you already had Finn Balor lose to Roman once. Why haven't beat the Demon? It's silly. You know, it's silly. It's the lack of long-term booking. Like they're long-term booking on one hand, which if that's what you want to do is have Roman and Brock. Okay, I'm cool with that. I don't have a problem with that. But don't put somebody right there that you basically overlooking. To me, that's disrespectful to Finn Balor. It's disrespectful to his fan base. It's the shits. Okay? And plus, you take all the goddamn drama out of that match and out of this whole segment. Because now nobody believes that Roman is going to lose. Because you've already told them that the match with Brock is happening. So nobody believes that Finn Balor can win. Now, is it a swerve and Finn Balor actually does win? And then this is kind of an excuse to push the Brock match back. That you have Balor win and then you give Roman a rematch. Roman have to win the title back. And then maybe they have another rematch. And then around Survivor Series, that'll bring us to Survivor Series, right? Because if Extreme Rules is in 2 weeks. So if Balor wins the title in 2 weeks, then he could hold the title for about 4 weeks or whenever until the next event, which he would probably lose it back to Roman. Then Roman can win it, carry it to, I'm pretty sure that's Hell in a Cell around that time. They have a Hell in a Cell season already? Oh, no, they already had Hell in a Cell. I was about to say it's Hell in a Cell season again, but they just had Hell in a Cell. It had to be another event. And he wrestles Finn Balor for the third time at that event, win the title back. And then Survivor Series, you could have Brock and Roman, right? Now, that could be done. And, you know, then you could just have Roman beat Brock. But I don't think you break the streak for the Demon. If you're going to beat Roman, Finn Balor's the right guy to do it. Because you need to make somebody. Somebody needs to get made out of all this. Balor's the right guy. And he ain't getting no younger. But for fuck's sake, you know, this can't go on forever, you know. So they're making some small mistakes here. And if I was Finn Balor, I wouldn't want to be the third wheel in this situation. And in some cases, the fourth wheel because Big E's running around with the Money in the Bank. believe it or not. I'm enjoying the Roman Reigns stuff. Obviously the Roman Reigns stuff has been very compelling TV. Now they've, moved from compromising the Usos to now compromising Paul Heyman. Now you got this split loyalty between Roman and Brock, where Paul did not denounce Brock. This is, probably something I should have talked about earlier when I was talking about that segment. But Paul was basically saying, we could go after all these titles, Brock. We could go after Lashley. We could go after other championships. We could do other things. Why are we going after Roman? Why this? Why now? And this is a very interesting situation. It's interesting on multiple different levels. It's interesting because, if you know anything about Jews, right? People are always talking about the Jews have dual loyalty. They always have a loyalty to the country that they live in, but there's also their loyalty to Israel. And you look at it from that perspective, you can see that that's kind of what they're doing with Paul Heyman, where he has this dual loyalty to Roman Reigns, who he says has saved him. And this would be the United States. This would be Europe. But he also has a homeland, somebody that he's been with for 20 some odd years, which is Brock Lesnar. And that's who he has naturally been with. And we have this situation where now, we're going back and forth. We're going back and forth with it. And it could be fun. It could be fun. But like I said, they're just mixing different things into the water every once in a while with Brock. They're not, giving us too much. Like, they announced that Roman and Brock are going to have a match, but they didn't say when. So now we have to postpone it somehow. And I think, this kind of takes me back to how can we postpone it? And I was thinking about it as I was doing the other parts of the video, is that Seth Rollins also is looking for the title. So could it be possible that we could maybe splinter off Balor as champion versus Rollins as challenger? And maybe we do that. And then we run Brock and Roman without the belt. Like, that could be something, You could make Finn Balor by having him win, but you can keep Roman strong by dropping the title, yet not really getting beat. Like, you could do something where he doesn't really get beat. I mean, I don't know. I haven't fully fleshed that idea out, but you could always move the title off Roman. That's my point. You could always move the title off Roman. Now, I would do it in a way where he doesn't get pinned. So I would do like a ladder match. And I think if that was to be the case where you was to say, okay, well, the Demon's going to challenge him to a ladder match, and then you could have Finn Balor win the ladder match and win the title in a ladder match, and therefore Roman doesn't have to get pinned. It becomes an easier thing, a pill to swallow for some people. And then you could splinter Finn Balor off with Seth Rollins, who wants the title, and now you can keep Roman, and you have new things with him and Heyman, and did Heyman drop the ball and cost him the title on purpose, and that kind of thing, where Roman is he's not so fragile that losing one match is going to kill his gimmick. But I also don't see the point in him losing that one match. So that's kind of like the dead end we keep finding ourselves in. So let's talk about that. So there's a huge 10-man tag. Shinsuke Nakamura, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Big E, and Rick Boogs versus Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, Otis, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. So Sami Zayn cut a promo and says that he wants to bring out, somebody who's used to winning in Madison Square Garden. So he brings out Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. He gets a huge reaction. People hate this guy. I had no idea who he was until my brother told me that he played for the Atlanta Hawks. So that was interesting. The big spot in the match is Trae Young grabbed Rey Mysterio's head and pulled him down on top rope. So the guy came in, he got involved. The referee caught him cheating and ejected him. So that was fun. But then for some reason, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler and Sami Zayn and Otis all left with him. No, Sami Zayn couldn't have left because he got pinned. But I think Otis and Gable and all those guys just left. Like when Trey got dumped So like everybody left with him. They left Sami Zayn by himself in a Knicks jersey and wearing pajamas. Like I have no idea why he was wearing pajamas. But the crowd seemed to love this match. It was high energy. It was people all over the place. Everybody got a little bit of something in. I would have liked for this to have some storyline implications, but it doesn't. Like it's just 10 guys who are not doing anything. And didn't even tell any stories in it. Like the Apollo Crews Nakamura thing. Nope. The Otis and Mysterio's thing. Nope. The Rude and Rick Boogs, not Rude and Rick Boogs, but the Apollo Crews and I say Apollo Crews and Nakamura already. But the storylines that were going into the match were basically tossed out. Whatever. Then after the match, Big E cut a promo. And he talked about being the Money in the Bank winner and said that it might not be the last time you see me tonight. Flashback, it was not. He popped up one time later to scare Paul Heyman. And he says he might show up any night to become the world champion. If you got what I need, you're going to feel my power. I'm like, all right. They going to keep doing this every month to remind you that Big E is Mr. Money in the Bank until he actually cashes it in. I personally, like I said, I would do it on Lashley. I think that, and this is why I think that the whole thing that they did with Lashley and the New Day was ill-timed. Like, if they had done Lashley and the New Day around this time, I would say it would be the perfect thing to juice the audience, to get them, snap them back into the show, and especially into Raw. Because there is a lack of energy around Raw. SmackDown has energy because SmackDown has some storylines, and they have Roman, they have Bianca Belair, they have people, Becky Lynch, they have people that folks actually are interested in right now. Raw has some potential with Lashley and Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, but they refuse to. The creative is so awful. It is absolutely awful that you don't see the purpose or even the point of getting behind anybody on Raw. Because either they got to do a job for no reason, or they about to slapdash some shit. Like I just saw that they're talking about the Lashley Randy Orton match is going to happen on Raw. They're not even going to save it for Extreme Rules. They're just going to do it on Raw. That's the problem, man. Like Raw it's shits. I cannot believe. It's hard for me to fathom that the same people who write SmackDown write Raw. It cannot be the same people. It has to be that there is something going on, maybe with USA Network. They don't fuck with them no more, and they just say fuck Raw. We're not going to even put in any effort because they're not. They're really not, and it sucks. And maybe they're trying to do Lashley and Orton to pop a rating, but still, you could have put some more effort into this and put some more time into it, and just instead of just announcing the fucking match. It's like, come on, man, that fucking sucks. That sucks. But we'll see how it goes. I don't want to prejudge things. We'll see how it goes. All right, so the Bianca Belair Becky Lynch segment, and so let's talk about this. Now, when Becky Lynch came out, I'm gonna skip to when Becky Lynch came out. She was wearing a red robe, and it reminded me a lot of what she was doing during the pandemic before she, it was announced that she was pregnant. And that's basically, she was being very arrogant. Like she was walking around in a crown, being really big headed. I remember talking about this and saying it's similar to Rocky 3, where, Rocky Balboa, was thought that he was really the man, and he didn't realize that Mickey was picking these tomato cans that he can beat. And it was all building up to Becky ultimately losing her title and having to refocus herself. And it seemed like she was going to turn heel back then, but of course then she got pregnant and that changed everything. So it seems like she just decided that she had her mind on doing this, therefore she's going to do it. And she just slid back in the pocket of doing what she wanted to do anyway. So, and they found a way to work everything into this segment. So, but I loved this segment. This segment was great because what Becky Lynch said is very real and it made sense. For instance, Becky Lynch says that, she saw the look in Bianca Belair's eyes when her music hit. So you were starstruck to be in the ring with the man. It says that, if you want, you could be a fan or you could be the man. There's nothing wrong with buying a ticket and being in the crowd. And this is not only real because, sure, Bianca was excited to see Becky Lynch at SummerSlam, but she was also excited to be at Madison Square Garden. Like, she had just started gushing about, wow, I can't believe I'm in Madison Square Garden. She was just doing that. And then here comes Becky Lynch calling her a fan. Basically, you're a mark. So you can be a mark if you want. Go sit in the crowd. This is where the star is at. And I thought that made perfect sense. And it was a great setup. And some people may not put that together. But it was a perfect setup. Just Bianca Belair's initial reaction of her coming out there was very markish. Like, wow, I heard so much about Madison Square Garden, and here I am. And Becky Lynch is like, whatever. Already been here. Already did this. So Becky Lynch, of course, then asked him, like, what if I don't sign this? What if I don't sign this contract? And then they put the peer pressure on her. They got the crowd to chant, sign this, sign this. And then Becky flipped out, said that she was sitting at home listening to the people chant that they wanted her. And so she left her baby at home to save the show and to come back to the WWE universe. And this is how they treat her. And some people were like, well, she's got a point. Because there was a smattering of EST chants. Like, they started bubbling up over time as she stood there and waited for them to bubble up. But a lot of people was like, damn, that is true. Because it was true. She did leave her goddamn kid to come back. And they were chanting for her. So it was great. Becky Lynch did the old Memphis shit. She took something that was real. She mixed it with some kayfabe. And was using it to get a real reaction. And Bianca Belair sat there and just watched her do it. Didn't put a lot of peer pressure on her, didn't yell at her, didn't scream at her, didn't do too much. And let Becky work the crowd. Hopefully she was paying attention. Because Becky is like 40 or something like that. She's up there in age. She ain't going to be there forever. So hopefully she was, learning how to work the crowd. So Becky signs the contract and then says it's going to end the same way that it did the last time. And through the contract that Bianca Belair, who caught it. And I thought that was dope. I don't know if she planned that, but she caught the contract in her hands. And I was like, ooh, like her reflexes are really good. All right. So that was a great segment. All right, so Edge and Seth Rollins. This match ruled. I thought the SummerSlam match was better, but this one was great. Edge and Rollins was great. 11 years since Edge last wrestled in Madison Square Garden. It was very good. Now, it was a little slow at the beginning because, you have to start slow. But as it builded, with the whole, working the legs, frustrating Edge by kicking out of all his moves. They were actually doing interesting things. Like, Edge did a full Nelson slam. And I was trying to say, like, that's a callback to what? From who? Like, who would Edge have any connection to that used a full Nelson slam? The only person I can think of is Test. And why would he be doing tributes to Test? I have no idea. Maybe because they're both Canadian? I don't know. Rollins bust out the glam slam twice. He botched it the first time. That's at Rollins. He countered the spear into a net breaker, which I thought was very interesting. Then we got Edge actually hit his spear and only got a 2, which, they burning finishers. Then they did some finagling with the referee. They got the pudgy ref in the corner. Rollins kicked him in the balls, super kicked him 2 or 3 times. Edge slumped, was actually selling super kicks, for Christ's sake. I can't believe people actually did that. And I'm talking actually like slumping down, and Rollins was. They took some time to do the drama of Rollins making sure Edge was not not playing possum. He was just watching them very closely, very intently. And then Edge got into position. He hit the stomp. 1, 2, 3. Rollins wins. Great fucking match. And then almost immediately, the referee calls for a stretcher. And we go to commercial. I don't think I've ever seen the company go to commercial on a stretcher spot before. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen somebody go to commercial on a stretcher spot before. That's the fucking drama. Why would you go to commercial on the drama? What are you doing? I get that we have to write Edge off for a little while because he can't wrestle every fucking week. But let's be real. That was the drama. What are you doing? I had never seen that before in my life. So when we come back from commercial, Edge is being loaded into the ambulance. Pat McAfee and Pat McAfee and Michael Cole are selling this as a major angle. That one stomp from Seth Rollins, just one, was enough to really jam that neck of Edge. And Edge might need to see might go to a medical facility, not a hospital, not a clinic, a medical facility. And Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce was looking at Seth Rollins like that daggum Seth Rollins, that no good scamp. So then Blondie, who I have no idea who she is, I think her name is Mackenzie. Is that it? Tell me if I'm wrong in the comment section. She asked Rollins how did he feel, and he muttered something about not knowing how to feel, not sure how he should feel, and maybe he doesn't feel anything at all. And he asked her how she felt. She just kind of looked at him because she's not supposed to have feelings. She's just a microphone holder. And he just walks away. Says, he doesn't feel anything at all. Main event, Street Profits versus the Usos. The Street Profits win by disqualification because Roman Reigns jumped into the ring to help the Usos. Frustrating finish, but obviously they're going to run it back. Extreme Rules, probably with some type of gimmick. We'll be looking forward to that. Montez Ford. His athleticism is crazy. Now here's the difference, between WWE high spots and high spots when you look at the indies and stuff. Montez Ford does like literally 3 high spots in the match. He did his over the top rope helo thing, which was a thing of absolute beauty. And it was like a huge collision with the Usos, took him down, got a great reaction, but he didn't overdo it. There wasn't 100 of those things. It wasn't everybody doing it, right? Because it wasn't everybody doing it, it was just him. It came across as special, and it came across as high energy. But that was, he only needed to do one. And I don't think he does more than one per match anyway. But, that doesn't stop them from, busting out other high energy moves. Like the elevated blockbuster, which got a 2 count. I'm not a fan of that being a 2 count. That should have been a finish. The Uso Splash, which I believe Dawkins kicked out of. I was stupefied by that. Montez Ford lost a shoe, which he took off and threw because, I guess he was just feeling it. The crowd started chanting one shoe because why not? He continued the match with one shoe on. The big finish came at, as Dawkins countered the second Uso Splash with the knees in the air. Taz comes with the frog splash. Boom, 1, 2. What's the name? Roman hits the ring and chokes out Montez Ford. So, then Finn Balor comes out as the Demon. Everybody is super happy to see that. And we're all off to the races and coming up close to Extreme Rules. All right, so for a Madison Square Garden show, this was very good. They got a lot of people on the show, but the opening tag team match was basically just high energy. It didn't really mean anything. There was no story involved in it. It was just cold, and you don't want to. I know I was just talking about they need to do a 10-man tag, and I maintain that. But it seemed to me that they just slapdashed that thing and didn't make sure that there was storyline in that. Every match should have storyline. Also, there was no women's match this week. Wasn't outside of the Becky Lynch Bianca Belair segment. There were no women featured. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart was backstage. The women's tag team titles, who knows? Sasha Banks was in New York. She was backstage. She didn't show up on screen. I know she was there because the fans had taken pictures of her showing up, so I know she was there. Nobody else was there. So none of the other women got to show up. So that was interesting. I wonder if they're going to get any heat for that. I guess we'll see whenever I look at the online. We'll see if anybody complains. But overall, it was a very solid show. Very good show. I enjoyed the main event except for the disqualification finish. And Rollins and Edge nailed it as they usually do. Those dudes rule. They have good chemistry. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.